we've got some news here about a spending bill because, of course, it's tax season and budget season. So with that comes government spending bills. Now, Trump backed a spending bill that was led by the Republicans in the House, and it has been passed. The GOP bill will also direct $4 trillion towards raising the debt limit. Ridiculous. It's wild that no one is complaining about this. This is the guy who claims that he cares about decreasing government spending. This is the guy who claims he cares about the deficit, and he wants to do what? Direct $4 trillion towards raising the debt limit. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. See, look, I voted for Trump. I don't know if I would call myself a supporter of him at this point, but the one thing that I really don't like to see is hypocrisy. You can't be going out here talking about how much you care about the deficit and then raise it every time you're president. Okay? Like, come on, bro. Dude, stop it. Cut it out. Let's see. The House of Representatives has adopted a resolution that will eventually become a massive multi-trillion-dollar bill for President Donald Trump's priorities on the border, defense, energy, taxes. Oh, by the way, speaking of which, Mike Johnson, didn't he say that we would stop doing these massive spending bills? Didn't he say that we would switch to passing things that were itemized, right? We're signing on spending for this thing, signing on spending for that thing. Whatever happened to that? Where did that go? Right now, I feel like, where's Waldo trying to find out all the promises that Mike Johnson made that he kept? It's like, where are you? Where are they? Where are they? I don't even know why he's still the Speaker of the House, but that's a conversation for another day. I feel like these Republicans don't really care that much about hypocrisy if they're willing to tolerate stuff like this without complaining, except for Thomas Massey. Thomas Massey, now that's a good man. But I feel like a lot of these other people, they're like, we don't care. Right? Trump banned DEI, so it's fine if he wants to increase the government debt. It's ridiculous. Increase the national debt. That's ridiculous. House of Representatives has adopted a resolution that will eventually become a massive multi-trillion-dollar bill full of President Donald Trump's priorities on the border, defense, energy, and taxes. In a major victory for GOP House leaders, the resolution passed in a 217 to 215 vote. All the Democrats voted against the measure, along with lone Republican Representative Thomas Massey, who was concerned about its effect on the national deficit. Good man. The next step is now for the relevant House committees to meet and build their own proposals, which will eventually be returned into the framework and negotiated to a compromise deal with the Senate. Now, to be fair, this bill isn't all bad. Like, there's stuff in here like big tax cuts and things that I'm a fan of. But in general, like, no, you can't campaign on lowering the government debt, win the election based in part on the promises that you have made, parade around with the marketing approved slogan, promises made, promises kept, and then break your promise of increasing the deficit. Like, that's just the height of hypocrisy. The House resolution aimed to increase spending on border security, the judiciary, and defense by roughly $300 billion, while seeking at least $1.5 trillion to $2 trillion in spending cuts elsewhere. As written, the House bill also provided $4.5 trillion to extend President Donald Trump's Tax Cuts and Jobs Act provisions, which expire at the end of the year. That's nice. So that keeps in place previous tax cuts that he had placed initially. The amendment negotiated by House Budget Committee Chairman Jody Arrington, Republican from Texas, and conservatives on his panel, would also force lawmakers to make $2 trillion in cuts, or else risk the $4.5 trillion for tax cuts getting reduced by the difference. The resolution also fulfilled Trump's directive to act on the debt limit, raising it by $4 trillion, or for roughly 2 years. I would assume that that's just a typo right there. A bipartisan deal struck in 2023 saw the debt limit suspended until January 2025. Now projections show the U.S. could run out of cash to pay its debts by spring if Congress does not act. Well, you know what the solution to that is? Raise the debt limit. Like, dude, this is so bad. The resolution's odds were touch and go for much of the week so far, since House lawmakers returned from a week-long recess period Monday. Several fiscal conservatives had demanded more assurances from House GOP leadership that Republicans would seek deep spending cuts to offset the cost of Trump's priorities. The Republicans lawmakers in more competitive districts are concerned that some tax cuts may go too far. However, I see, yeah, so a lot of push and pull there. That makes sense. The resolution directs the House Energy and Commerce Committee to find at least $880 billion in spending cuts, which those lawmakers fear will mean severe cuts for federal programs like Medicaid. It's kind of unfortunate. Medicaid is heavily problematic because it has a lot of fraud, waste, and abuse. Everybody knows that. We all know it intuitively. No one here would disagree. Johnson said, what we're talking about is rooting out the fraud, waste, and abuse. It doesn't matter what party you're in. You should be for that because it saves your money and preserves the program so that it is available for the people who desperately need it. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. I generally have bought the line of like the waste, fraud, and abuse is something important that we need to get rid of. I guess the difficult thing is knowing whether or not when you're cutting jobs like this, if you're actually going after waste, fraud, and abuse, or you're just cutting spending so that you could fund other things, or because it makes you look good optically. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what those cuts end up looking like before I can make a judgment on them.